Hello and welcome from us here at the London part of Sunday Politics. Joining me for the next 20 minutes are Emily Thornberry, Labour MP and Shadow Attorney General, and Gavin Barwell, Conservative MP for Croydon Central. First today, major cuts to the capital's police budget are on the way, and as the recent mayoral elections showed, any significant reductions in the number of officers will be controversial. But what about closing police stations? Plans have emerged to sell off 9 of them in the capital, and more closures could be on the way, as Andrew Cryan reports.
Fewer police or fewer police stations. With big cuts to the Met's budget, that's the choice London may have to face. And keeping bobbies on the beat, so say our politicians, is the priority. The Met are currently looking at their entire property portfolio, trying to work out exactly what they need and what they can afford to get rid of. But Sunday Politics has learnt that's even got as far as calling in estate agents to value existing police stations with a view to selling them off. We've learnt that there are 9 currently operational police stations in London that the Met have proposals to sell, approved by City Hall. These are Barking, Sidcup, Willesden Green, Orpington, South Norwood, Ealing, Highbury Vale, East Ham and Richmond.
Well, we don't know yet whether they're going to close or not. That is a review that is taking place currently, and that will be over the next 12 months. But to be honest, this is something I think that is overdue, because we do have 800 buildings on the police estate as such, and many of them are underutilised, they're inefficient, they're not modern enough for everyday policing.
If not closures, then many stations may have to offer a visibly reduced service. Front counters, where the public can come in and report a crime, look like they might take a serious hit. As recently as March, Boris Johnson said that if one closed, another would open, maintaining the current level of 136. But now, he's only promising one 24-hour counter in every borough, potentially then just as few as 32. But since the average front counter sees just 5 people reporting a crime a day, and some, on average, less than 1 a day, is it really the best use of police resources?
Everyone should feel that they have a fairly local police station they can go and report a crime at, that they know they can go in and ask a question of the police, they know where the police are. I think it's absolutely wrong that we're going to go down to potentially 32 open police stations to the public in London. I think it's just wrong.
At City Hall this week, the new Deputy Mayor for Policing had this to say.
Very often, there are many counters and there are lots of office spaces, but the things that make sure that they work well operationally, the computer systems, the infrastructure is very poor. And I think that's where the real issue is, not the number of front counters.
But on the streets, Londoners had mixed views.
If I needed to use the police, then I would just call them. I can't think of why I would need to go into a police station.
You've got your mobile phone nicked and you need to register it. You go to a police station, if it's not there, then what the hell do you do? I don't know.
There's a lot of crime around this area, so having a police station close by, it helps.
Someone got mugged at right outside it, and police came straight out and chased after the guy and arrested the guy.
Firm details about which stations and which front counters will close are due to start coming out in the autumn. Then the political fallout will really begin.
Andrew Cryan reporting there. John Tully is from the Metropolitan Police Federation, representing officers. Welcome to you. If the choice came down to closing police stations or getting rid of officers, presumably the former is much more palatable to you.
I think we're in this position principally because of the government's stance on cuts to police budgets. We're facing a 20% cut across the whole budget in the next 3 years, potentially losing 16,000 police officers. That in itself is very serious, and we would argue against that.
Not 16,000 in London, I have to say. You're saying nationally, but hang on. Okay, so if we know that that's the case, and say those savings have to be found, an answer to the question, better that they sell off buildings, isn't it?
Well, I think that there are choices to be made, and the new Policing and Crime Commissioner, Mr Greenhalgh, has got to make some tough decisions along with the Commissioner. And
would you see and understand and welcome that, you know, the best thing in the circumstances would be to sell buildings?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that, because, as was mentioned in your film there, the people of London need police stations. They need to focus for their reporting of crime, in need of help. They know where to turn. We have got previous statistics around the previous closure of police stations, and crime rates in those areas have gone up dramatically, insofar as police buildings have had to be returned to those areas. So it's a very difficult balance to hit.
If they were concentrating resources on fewer, say, front counters, 24 hours a day, better staff, people could just make that extra journey, if necessary, to do that in person, report a crime or whatever, couldn't they?
Well, they absolutely could. I live in Havering, which is a London borough, and one of the police stations which is under threat, isn't mentioned on your report, is Hornchurch Police Station. The local Romford Recorder newspaper group are coordinating a campaign to try and keep that police station open, and the people of that area want it kept open, and I think that would be replicated across London.
Gavin Barwell, there isn't a closure in your area, one quite near it though, your constituency. You got a problem with it?
Well, I think in an ideal world, no one wants to see police stations closed. People like to see a police presence in their community, but we have to make tough choices, as you were just saying. You know, although there's a difference between Emily and I over the scale, both the main parties agree that there have to be significant reductions in police budgets. And I think, you know, in Croydon, where we had the experience of the riots last August, the most important thing is protecting visible policing on our streets. So if the choice is between officers or making some changes in terms of buildings, I would definitely go with the latter.
And Emily Thornberry, you must surely agree with that. You know, if you're going to rationalise your property portfolio, sell off some buildings which brings in some cash, much better than preserve the front line.
Can I just start? I mean, the difference between the two main political parties is that we think we should listen to the experts, and the experts have said that whilst if we do need to reduce the amount of spending on police officers, we shouldn't go down to 20%, because if we do, then we will cut frontline police officers, and we want to stick closer to what the experts have actually advised the government, you know, which means that there won't be a cut in frontline officers.
But here's a way of preserving the officers, because you bring in the cash. And we don't need counters, do we? I mean, or so many of them. People don't report crimes in person anymore.
I have to say, whenever I've gone into Islington Police Station, there has always been a queue. Yeah, there has always been a queue. I've honestly never seen anything other than a queue.
For what people, you're right.
I don't know, because I go in. I mean, I'm all right because I'm the MP and I can knock on the window and I can go in and, you know. But for people who want to go in and ask for help, there's a queue. And if the other police station in Islington closes, I think there will be a great deal of opposition to it.
A final, sorry, John Tully. Final thoughts on this. Clearly, there are cuts coming down the route here. Clearly it may well affect officers, but if we start to see a big rationalisation as well of counters and so on, what action do you think your federation might take?
Well, clearly the federation's position is to protect the welfare and efficiency of the officers we represent. Closures of police stations would mean they would be brigaded elsewhere. The impact upon officers by the closure of stations wouldn't be that great. I think our concern is for members of the public.
Exactly.
And I hear from correspondence we get that the public would rather see the police stations remain open.
OK, well, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Now, how to bring